General Hospital fans are worried about Tracy Quartermaine, Jane Elliott. She's running hot and cold most days. One never knows if she'll bite or purr. Is this a sign of something more serious? Might she need an intervention in the near future? What's going on with Tracy Quartermaine? Martin Michael E. Knight is the most recent victim to cross Tracy. Last week, he confronted her during a spa day and used the occasion to rip her a new one. Marty ranted and raved to the point that even her own granddaughter, Brooklyn Quartermaine, Amanda Seton, was speechless. What did Tracy do? She seemed to enjoy the tongue lashing. Not everyone can match her word for word, wit for wit. Tracy Quartermaine is a shark. Tracy has always been a loose cannon with a sharp tongue and a stream of bile through her veins. But her recent behavior has some fans wondering if she's ock. Could Tracy be lonely now that Monica Quartermaine, the late Leslie Charleson, isn't in the dining room to trade barbs? Willow Tate and Drew Kane grate on Tracy Quartermaine. In particular, Tracy has been especially nasty to Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, and Drew Quartermaine, Cameron Matheson. They may deserve a fair bit of scorn after engaging in an affair under her roof. Her son Ned Quartermaine, Wally Kurth, and nephew Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, have tried to caution Tracy about burning bridges and being smarter with her attacks. Why not divide and conquer in the case of Dillo? Will Willow Tate and Drew Kane win out over Tracy Quartermaine? Has Tracy heard the saying that you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar? In her typical all-in manner, Tracy was willing to go to jail for keeping Willow's kids away from her. And maybe therein lies the crux of the problem. The Q Mansion is a daycare center these days. With Sasha Gilmore, Sophia Matson, pregnant, there could be another set of little feet underfoot at the mansion. How can Tracy solve her problem and stop being so hostile and unhappy? Tracy is not a hopeless case, but it takes a village help and auntie. We predict that it will take Ned, Willow, Sasha, Martin, et al. To help Tracy turn a corner. Tell us what you think, GH fans. Does Tracy require an intervention at this point? Tracy Quartermaine, a reckoning in Port Charles. The grand halls of the Quartermaine mansion echoed with an unfamiliar silence, one that Tracy Quartermaine found unnerving. She sat at the breakfast table, glaring at the empty seat where Monica used to sit, sipping her morning coffee with her trademark blend of scorn and amusement. Life had changed in Port Charles, and Tracy didn't care for it. She was a woman of power, influence, and unapologetic wit. For decades, she had been a force to be reckoned with, commanding respect through sheer will and razor-sharp verbal sparring. Yet something gnawed at her lately, a sense of restlessness that she couldn't shake. She had always thrived in chaos, but now the chaos felt different. It was personal. A verbal sparring with Martin Gray. Tracy's latest adversary came in the unlikely form of Martin Gray. Their spa encounter had been anything but relaxing. Tracy had expected a soothing afternoon, maybe some cucumber slices and gossip, but what she got was a full-blown confrontation. "You're insufferable, Tracy," Martin had raged, his voice echoing through the serene spa setting, causing a few startled employees to pause mid-massage. Tracy, ever unbothered, had simply leaned back in her chair, smirking. "Oh, Martin, you wound me. I thought you were a man of words, not wines." Brooklyn had stood frozen, witnessing the spectacle. It wasn't often someone dared to match Tracy blow for blow, and Martin had done just that. Yet, to everyone's shock, Tracy had seemed to revel in it. Later that evening, sipping a glass of sherry, Tracy replayed the scene in her mind. Had she lost her edge? Was she enjoying the chaos too much? A Quartermaine in the crosshairs. Tracy's interactions with Willow Tate and Drew Kane had become increasingly hostile. When they had begun sneaking around, betraying Ned's trust under her own roof, Tracy had been livid. "Do you have no decorum? No respect for the sanctity of this family?" She had spat at them one evening over dinner. Willow had turned pale, while Drew merely sighed. Tracy, we didn't intend to hurt anyone. Intentions mean little when actions cause destruction, dear, Tracy had quipped, stabbing her salad with unnecessary force. Her frustration wasn't just about the affair, it was about the slow erosion of the Quartermaine legacy. She had spent years ensuring the family name remained untarnished, and yet, scandal after scandal continued to plague them. Jason Morgan, ever the family mediator, had pulled her aside. You need to ease up, Tracy. Burning every bridge doesn't leave you with many allies. Allies? Tracy had scoffed. Jason, darling, you know as well as I do that in this family. Allies today are enemies tomorrow. Still, the words lingered. Was she pushing everyone away? And if so, why? The child factor, a house of toddlers and trouble. The once regal Quartermaine mansion was transforming into a daycare center, much to Tracy's chagrin. Children's toys littered the floor, and the once orderly sitting room was now filled with the sounds of laughter, crying, and the occasional crash of something breakable. Tracy found herself dodging tiny feet and sticky fingers at every turn. When Sasha Gilmore announced her pregnancy, Tracy had all but groaned out loud. "Oh, wonderful! Another tiny tyrant to add to the mix," she muttered under her breath. "Come on, Tracy, babies are a blessing," Ned had reminded her. She had simply rolled her eyes. "Yes, Ned, a blessing that screams at ungodly hours and turns our estate into a romper room." Deep down, though, she knew her distaste wasn't truly about the children. It was about what they represented: change, unpredictability, and the passing of time. Tracy had always been in control, but lately, life had been slipping through her fingers. A moment of reflection. One evening, Tracy found herself alone in the sitting room, a rare moment of peace. She glanced at a photograph of herself and Monica, their usual expressions of amused disdain frozen in time. She missed her. Not that she would ever admit it aloud, but the absence of their verbal sparring had left a void. She sighed, swirling her sherry. Perhaps Jason and Ned had a point. Maybe she had been lashing out too much. Maybe she was lonely. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to see Brooke Lynn standing there, hesitant. "What is it, dear?" Tracy asked, her tone softer than usual. Brooke Lynn hesitated before speaking. "We're worried about you. You've been different." Tracy smirked. Different? Or simply more fabulous than usual? "Tracy, I'm serious. You don't have to do this alone." The word struck a chord. She had always been independent, self-reliant to a fault, but maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to fight every battle alone. A new beginning? Tracy Quartermaine was not a woman who changed easily. But perhaps, just perhaps, it was time to let her guard down, just a little. The next morning, she joined the family for breakfast. The children's laughter still grated on her nerves, but she didn't snap at them. When Willow and Drew entered the room, she merely raised an eyebrow, but held her tongue. And when Brooke Lynn hugged her on the way out, Tracy allowed herself a rare moment of warmth. Yes, she would always be a force to be reckoned with. But maybe, just maybe, she could soften the edges, just enough to let a little light in.